Janet Porter,
Present.
Ms. Teresa Calhoun,
Present.
Ms. Polly Jones,
Present.
Ms. Diane Elder,
Present.
Josh Rosen, present as well. First is done on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Any other policies? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Mr. Ward, do I have a second? Question, comment? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carried. If we've got the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have this on the agenda, and we'll probably do something a little more formal like this there. Monthly meeting, but I hope it's okay. We might have a moment of silence from the column, who just not spending with it yesterday, where you were very touched a lot of kids at the middle school. My daughter had her for battle flips. And so she's taking it pretty hard. But you all are special people to these kids. I hope you all know that. And that can go on. I mean, hard to lose anybody anytime, but like that is even harder. So that's what I'm talking about when it's silent. Which, first, we got the NC School Boards Association.
First of all, Josh, thank you for, being in silence. People are touching the School Boards Association, specifically delegates. It's been a while since we've had live participation in the School Boards Association conferences. Meetings. This particular one is their annual conference, and we have the opportunity to have up to 4 delegates who participate. And essentially what it is the direction of the School Boards Association. They vote on officers, and then they vote on what their priorities are going to be. And we do have 4 board members attending that conference. So to me, I just want, it has to be voted on by an actual vote during the meeting to appoint these, or we forfeit them. But since we have 4 people going, I think that's, easy. Instead of version for people, that's if you so choose to vote for each other, to be appointed as a delegate. And that's also specifically for Wednesday, November 12th. So you have to be present on that specific day.
As there are 4 of us going and there are 4 delegates, I move that all 4 attending be listed as or approved as delegates to represent the center.
Do I have a motion from Ms. Ward? Is that okay? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Elder, sorry. Looking the wrong way. Any other questions, comments today?
If I can make a comment regarding the board meeting, I looked it up. Last time I looked, there was no list of the breakout sessions, but this time we don't know when the different sessions are occurring, but there's 46 different sessions to choose from. So plan to take some time before we get there to read through and pick your priorities. Because we may not have much time once we all get together.
Which campaign? Any other questions, comments? I think it is.
So you get to pick what sessions you want. And we go as, of course, now, if we're delegates, we have to go to the meeting where, arrest. So other folks that are not delegates will be doing some other things that we want.
And you don't all have to go together. You can go, I mean, you can go to 4 different sessions if they're 4 at the same time, which I would, recommend so that you get 4 different.
And so we'll gain more information and collect any handouts that they might be giving so that, if it news or whatever we can discuss.
Well,
We can bring it back.
you can bring it back for discussion.
Just take good night.
Good notes.
If there are more than 2 of you at one time, then that would be a quorum and, so you don't wanna have a, meeting
Outside of the meeting.
outside of. the meeting.
All those in favor of that, raise your hand. Okay, we need someone on the ballot. All right, well. Let's jump in here. So everybody get all excited.
So I do want to kind of give you a rundown since we were through part of them and then we were told scrap all those. Let's go back fresh because of how many updates there were since then. So a couple of things that I want to explain in here so we can tackle this as efficiently as possible. I put in the folder that you can see, the Google folder. All the documents in there. I think there's a link in there with all of the individual documents. There is a 3000s update chart that has the ones that we're looking at today. And there's also, this is the first bullet with the 3000s policy update. The second one are policies that need updated due to recent legislation, and that needs updated by the December meeting. So no matter how far you get on some of those are in the 3000s. Some of them are not, but we'll need to update them before January. The 3000s update chart, of course, has the draft policy, number, title, and notes for consideration. And obviously it doesn't list every single change, but those are the biggest changes. Most of them are either required by law or strongly recommended. And some of the things that are recommended are cross references and things like that. So I would recommend putting them in there so you don't have to do them later when you update the next policy. And the School Boards Association, once you vote to update it, will update it on their end and on our end. So they'll have, I'll send them the policy and then they will update it to their system because they house our policies now to keep them straight. There are 3 folders in there. One is policies new to Ashe County. So most of those, some of those policies are brand new. One of them is not, and I'm going to tell you that because she had not cross-referenced it to the 10,000s because the School Boards Association does not have the 10,000 series. And a lot of these were technology. So 3226/4205 is actually not new to Ashe County. That policy was formerly 10,000. I lost it now. It's in the 10,000 series. And it's not as bad as some of the others as far as the updates, but I think the last time it was updated was still 10 years ago. Oh, I'm sorry, 10,226. I take that back. It was 12 years ago. Adopted June 28th, 2013. So from a technology standpoint, it's behind. And I think, Diane may have mentioned that the policy regulations have been updated. Our practices have been updated to follow the latest, but this definitely needs updated. From a best practice standpoint and for the law. There are quite a few things that we have to do to protect children, and we are doing that. We can't access other things, without doing that, but that doesn't mean the policy actually reflects that that's something that we have to do. So that language is in there. So those are the new to Ashe County. Typical with a new policy, you will look at it today, sit on it through a meeting that has a public comment in case there is a public comment necessary, and approve it the next time. So anything that's new, that is what our policy says that we do. If it's a policy that's existing, you can approve it right away if you wanted to. I would recommend going to the next board meeting, like I say, the next regular board. There are 3 policies in there with minor changes, and then there are quite a few policies with substantive changes. Also in that folder, of policies, was a folder named local policies. So speaking of those local policies, many of those will not be necessary after you do the updates to all the other 3,000 series. So Christine Schief from the School Boards Association said there's only one. Look at her exact wording. But she said that she's reviewed the 10,000 series policies, and she said the internet safety policy, the 10.226, and it's based policy, and it's based on policy that's in the 3,000 series. We will renumber that one and go ahead and update that instead of it being new, it will be an updated policy. And she recommends repealing all but 7335/10/335. So that one aligns with the policy 7335. So it's pretty much the same thing. It'll just draw the 10,000 reference, and that one will get dropped off. So we're trying to align it so we don't have an extra section that's not in the School Boards Association, so that when we get updates, it's clear where it should be. And it should make it seamless for our policy changes once we tackle this section. This is not our biggest section, the 3,000s, but it is pretty big. The 4,000s are a lot. That's the biggest section out there. It's on students. The next one will be some of the finance in the 7,000s, but that's coming up in a ways. Rather than sending all of the policies at once, Christine suggested that once we get through these, she'll send like 15 at a time. 15 is probably doable. And so like the 4,000 series will be split up into 4 sections. You know, might be 15, might be 18, depending on how many. But that way you all can tackle that many, get it updated, and then go on to the next one. And she will send on the day that you guys review all these policies, then you update them once you get them the next day. So it's a continual process, and yes, it's a lot of work. But I think that this can get us in a rhythm, especially having this meeting 2 weeks after the board meeting on a regular basis. And once you get into a rhythm, it's a little bit easier to figure out. But anyway, that was her suggestion. And of course, it provides some context into our 10,000 series, which a lot of those are already in the 3,000 series. So those local policies, all but the one that I referenced, will really go away. So we're gonna have to pay attention today to those local policies because they're already, will have referenced once we update the other 3,000s. I'm gonna pause there, so just in case you have questions so far.
Can we start with the ones that we don't have for the discussion? Because to me, those are the ones I have the most questions about. And that, I know it skips around, but some of them were, just pretty straightforward. The newest,
Yeah.
to Ash County cost is new, and thank you for organizing it that way, it made it easier. Yeah, to kind of wade through what we were doing. But some of my biggest questions were about the new ones and how that would work for us.
And the new policies will have to sit on longer.
Yeah.
So, so would you like to then, I mean, those are new, if we go back to,
I just don't want to start over on the 3,000.
well, you know, when she said to delete all of those, I literally gasped. But she said it would be less confusing because there's so many changes and quite a few of those policies had updates and legal references that were not included before. So that was one of those things that, I think she'll be able to get us into a rhythm that, allows us to not be in that position. And this whole update procedure will allow us to get into a position where this isn't something that we have to spend hours upon hours upon hours on, because you'll already be familiar with the policy, and there'll be a legal reference, or it'll be, hey, they're all changed here, so you must include this language.
I agree with Diane. I was either told or under the impression that that was what we needed to deal with first, so it's the one I'm the most familiar with right now.
So the second, the other thing that, I guess I would suggest that we get into, next then would be the policies that I included under that second section, which are the ones, specifically that need updated to recent legislation. Again, we don't have to get to it today, but that's something we do need to have updated by December. Some of them, when the law went into place, they expected us to already have that language in there, and which is impossible to do.
Which of you've got 4 folders here: local policies, policies new to ASH, policies with minor changes, and those with substantive changes.
So they are in assembly. Under policies that need updated due to recent legislation. I did not put them in a single folder because they are all over the place. You've got a 1,000, a 5,000, a 7,000, a 4,000, a 6,000. And so that was not in a separate Google folder. These are ones that are going to be updated out of order, only because legislation requires it. That's in assembly, so under policies that need updated due to
That's
recent
the
legislation.
number 2 under act, discussion.
Oh, we gotta go through that to get to it.
That's where those are always.
So do we need to be on the next one?
That's just where those are.
Okay.
Under that.
They're not in a separate Google folder, because then they would have been all over the place, and they really needed to be together, so those are actually in assembly. There's a special update table, and I printed that, yeah, for those of you that have one printed, that was a smaller one. You want me to have one printed, please? Things like that. More copies, one of my special. 2 more copies, actually be 3, so we have one, this is what you're talking. That's the one, yeah, better than cover, 2 more copies. Of the special update table under the policies that we updated to the It's under the second on December.
Just, so these special updates are just, these are policies we already have, they're just tweaking them to match what the legislature.
Correct, and there's one caveat that I wanna provide to you, to make a choice in. So. I want to start there, to get job computers. Do we want to start in that 3000s policy update and do the ones that are new to Ashe County?
Let's do
first?
that. and then- Yeah,
Okay.
everybody's got those printed out, the new policy.
I have them all.
Okay,
I mean, personally, I would start with 3,000, go straight through them.
that'll give them more time to
I like
get
that.
that's for the other.
Right, but at some point, since those others are new legislation, we have to start doing them right away, so we have to get those done quick.
Those ought to be done, well, those, not necessarily quickly, but by December, we have to have them done.
So how long do we have to wait on those like we do new policies?
No,
We could vote on them.
you could put on them today if you wanted, since they're just updates.
Okay.
Anytime we already have a policy in place, the only thing when I talked to, Christine Sheaf about this, because our policies are very out of date. Rather, I asked her, I said, can we just do it right now? And just say, hey, here's the policy, let's follow this. This is the number one responsibility of the board, is to set policy so that we can construct things to follow the policy. And to make sure we're giving it its due diligence, new policies need to sit among. But old policies, typically you can just vote and do. However, some of these require substantial changes. You might wanna not vote on it today, but for action, you might wanna do it at the next meeting for action. So. Anyway, that gives it a little bit longer, but that way there's and it depends, again, if we already have the policy existing, you can vote on it now for action, that's not a big deal. But anything new, you have to sit on.
So right now, we're gonna start at the 3,000s update chart.
We're gonna start with, so the question is, do you wanna start with the update chart and go in order? Or do you wanna do the brand new policies? Some of which we do not have, so like 3220.
Is that the ones you had the question on? Let's do those. then. The ones that have the question.
New policy and new policies. I was told we would start with, so that's what I looked at first.
Well, the others that don't have as many, if the most questions are on the new, then we should be able to roll through the other ones. A little easier, I would think. No, you never know.
Well, the 3,000, it's allowed, so we can't change it.
It's all-
Just tell me where to go, we'll start.
Yeah.
Just
Let's
mention
just
where you want to
start.
start. Yeah, let's just go.
Let's just go. Policies, new Ashe County, is that where we're on?
So right now, we're on policies new to Ashe County, and that would start with 3220. And that's not the update. This would be brand new, so it doesn't have a update.
It's not.
There isn't, no,
All right.
there would not be any update
Okay.
to what we exist and have, we don't have any. So if you look online, Amy has provided some suggestions, and she's over the technology program itself. And essentially, this is language. Yeah, Amy did one for that, and so I think.
Do we not get to it back?
Yeah, I think everybody else has.
Going on this step here.
So if you look at this, we have, North Carolina has a digital learning plan. We also have our, plans, through the technology that, essentially, technologies there to enhance and support the curriculum. It shouldn't be the end all be all. It is a tool to deliver the curriculum. And of course, we have communication technologies. It's not just what's in the classroom. We have curriculum and instruction guides that are updated every single year by teachers. Typically over the summer is led by Julie and Casey and school personnel. But anyway, we also have digital teaching and learning. So we're essentially doing this, even though we don't have a policy on specifically that reflects this. Selection of technological resources. We've been for years using Chromebooks largely for students in the classroom. We have updated our systems. Thankfully, we had ESSER dollars that allowed us to do that for many years. And then there's some cloud-based and web-based programs and platforms that we reassess every single year as needed. There are some technologies that you probably don't even hear about because we're required to keep paid safe. So some of those things are quite expensive, but all they are there to do is to protect and filter and make sure bad actors can't get into our systems.
Does Amy have any recommendations for changing that first paragraph?
No.
Okay, and the second paragraph,
And I don't think anybody in curriculum either had
That's very.
it's involved, but it's straightforward. I mean, it is pretty straightforward because a lot of this are actually required by the state. So they're things we've been doing.
Okay, one question.
Yeah.
In the last sentence of the first paragraph, it says, in addition to the extent funding commits, blah, 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 blah. And you get down there that students have access to personal digital and technology enabled teaching.
Okay, so
Should that
we will not be
personal,
correct.
the personal should be individual, right? Or
Okay, so
that didn't go together.
So essentially what I read this as is that all students have access to personal, digital, and technology enabled teaching and learning devices. Every single student has access to
I know that,
a
but
Chromebook.
personal, could it be individual instead of personal?
We can just take that out.
Yeah.
So digital and technology,
Because
so,
personal doesn't.
well,
There.
there you go.
So,
I just deleted it.
I
It's
agree with
access,
Well, I don't,
your own
it
phone.
if you look at
implies bringing your own stuff.
so I deleted personal. And if you go down to the bottom, which we'll get there in a little bit, we have recommended that we delete to bring your own technology.
Yes.
So
I
just
agree.
take it out. If we, for some reason, need to do that in the future, then we can add that back in.
In the second paragraph, the footnote says the curriculum committee and school improvement plan references are optional. Does the staff want those still in there, or do they want us to, or do you think it's?
I would put the optional because not every school improvement plan will include technology, but they also do have a technology plan that's district-wide that references grade level. I mean, we even put out inclement weather plans that include technology. And some of those they're very broad because we don't know what that's going to bring on any given day.
And that's an
I'd like to
example of
see
the
those.
kind of thing I'd like to do throughout, when it's optional and it's not something that we need to spell out in detail, that we don't. Because then that limits us for the future in many ways. So whatever the references are in that second
That
paragraph.
is posted online, but I can send it to you later today.
And
I just think that would be helpful because,
We even have it down when, how teachers and classified staff and stuff take off time. So it's spelled out for you.
my next question is, it says in footnotes 3 and 4 that those paragraphs are optional.
Which ones?
Paragraph 3 and or footnote 3 and footnote 4, they said those are optional. So, what is the staff's feeling on those paragraphs? Do they need those explanations spelled out?
So right now, paragraph 3, it is optional, but historically recommended that planning for digital teaching and learning be integrated into the school system. Strategic planning
Right.
is provided there. We have a separate technology plan. And so that's, and it's still posted online. We changed our website, so I don't know how to find it right, like seamlessly. But, we have a separate technology plan. It's not in, it's not something that we've referenced at from a school strategic plan standpoint. Because we haven't needed it. That was pre-COVID language when people were not fully equipped from a technology standpoint to provide technology to all our kids. And that would have included Ashe County schools. We did not have one-to-one or we had the devices, just not a system for making sure that everybody had access to it. And I don't think technology needs to be end all be all. I want it to be a tool.
Everyone's taking all those out, but no back to do it.
Well, that's not going to do kids any good either, because they're gonna have to be skilled in using technology and be able to use it responsibly, but it cannot be everything. And I think we can get that.
And I've also wondered, I want to know in my own mind, what kind of training that we're receiving student-wise and professional-wise in each of these. I mean, I just like to have it for my own reference and, okay, we're doing this now. So some parent comes up and says, hey, well, the teachers are all they do is do all this. And I say, oh, but this is the plan. This is the plan. And I do, and I will say it again, you've heard me say it before, the AI stuff bothers me because it's too broad. What does that mean? I use AI. I use Siri, and we know Siri's got me in trouble before, especially those things I do on the road. So, I think it's too broad,
Okay, so AI,
very too broad.
so
Okay,
AI is going to be referenced in another policy.
I saw that, I read that, but at the same time, I think we need to, as a board, bring that definition into, because it's very negative to some folks in our district. What does AI actually mean and how are we gonna do that? I'm also concerned that we jump into AI before we have the skills that are good, that would allow you to navigate discriminately what AI looks like. For example, I've seen some written stuff that was, oh my Lord, okay? It sounds good, but there was no substance to it. So we've got to be careful that we give the students the critical skills first before we move too much into the AI, the creation part. I think that's very important that we do that.
So you're talking about like ChatGPT, because they're using, like, all of our testing systems use AI now. So
Yeah, I mean,
that,
it
you
just
know, it might
depends.
give you a,
See, that's a broad definition, AI.
absolutely,
So,
that's
I
why
mean,
it
we
needs
need
to be
to,
in a that's why it needs to be in the separate policy
we need
versus defined.
I mean, we need that discussion can be waited until we get to the AI policy.
well, it's listed here, so, it needs to be, consistent. Whether in both policies, it needs to be consistent however we do that, because it's listed right there in part E. So,
As part what?
part E,
Oh, well,
section
that's-
E.
So I don't think
we're not there yet.
need it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So section A, selection technological resources, and again, that was the hardware and software and other things. You know, Amy and her team is largely in charge of that, where it would be a curriculum resource that is selected. And typically, from bidding and purchasing and whatever else, we are following essentially what it's saying there. They, you know, she will bring to you that, hey, we're doing it for Mountain View Elementary School, and we need this many devices, and it's going to be approximately this much, and she'll say, here's, but she goes and gets the bids from whomever, and of course, we need it to be consistent and compatible with our systems, and those purchases are made. A lot of software are, required. And then there are those that we actually have choice in. Sometimes they go along with our textbooks, sometimes it's something, a little bit, minor, but, teachers are usually involved in that. We look at usage to see if we need to purchase it because it is or is not being used. And then, of course, they have the different standards there and, essentially, we're following exactly what this is. We have a technology budget from the county. Now we will have to, manage that because we use ESSER funds to purchase, do a full refresh. If you remember, about a year ago, last year, is that last year? We used the ESSER funds to do the refresh so that we would have the latest and greatest and extend the life. So we will have to go to the county commissioner for another law outside of our regular technology for a few years.
Another recommendation that comes before A that I noted in the footnotes is that we can change who's the designee. And this says only the superintendent may. And it seems to me from what I've learned from being on the board,
Which one?
the paragraph just before A, the very first sentence, the superintendent may establish relationships with businesses, seek grants. Should that, our policy or our procedures, isn't more likely that superintendent or designated
Everything's
staff?
gonna be more designated. I mean, I can't.
So we're gonna move that.
If we did all of our policies just as super, there is no way I can't.
I know,
might
that's
have
why-
to have a staff.
So
I mean, I
you're
guess
not
you
gonna
could
put-
say we're designated.
So you are gonna put that in there, because it's not in there now, and I thought it should be added anytime we see.
I think that's understood, but I think we can add them, I just probably doing that. And I'll seek guidance on whether that's needed in all of our
Okay.
policies too.
Did Amy want any changes in the list of 1 to 5? Because they can all be modified, supposedly.
So, C, the only thing, she recommended, was to delete C, so to bring your own technology initiative. Because we don't have that, really do not want it.
I agree with that.
If she's good with the rest of it. Assuming she's read it.
And then the rest of that, excuse me, she does ask if we need to add a COPA compliance. That'll probably come with another policy update, as far as COPA compliance. And we will reorder these too. So now we're down to the,
Please, I had to look up that acronym. I knew it, but I didn't look it up.
Okay.
It's Children's Online Privacy Protection.
Yep.
So, you know,
I knew it's pretty good thing.
that's something we follow, but we don't necessarily have any policy, but when she added that,
here's my question about policy. Are we do talk about
the electronic communication.
Yeah, why can't we incorporate, there's a separate policy about the web pages, right? That we hadn't done yet, that, you know, what the number was, I don't have my notes right there, but,
One of the things.
yeah, okay, so, but could we not incorporate whatever that policy is right there under web page? And it was very lengthy, very wordy.
The webpage one,
Yes.
yeah.
Can we condense that and stick it in there and not even have that policy? I mean, it effectively said the superintendent will supervise all web pages and blah, blah, blah.
Well, and it's superintendent or designee.
Exactly.
Because I can't, like, I think that's why it's understood, because there's no,
Yeah,
sorry.
It's understood.
Pages.
But I'm just thinking, do we need a separate policy when we're basically saying it under C for web pages? And to be honest with you, web pages are not as emphasis, used to be every teacher had to have a web page.
Well, I thought that Amy said we're deleting section C completely, which was one of the was allowed.
Is that C or B?
Okay, so I just, if you could, or you in there, I literally just, I've been trying to update it as I go, so I don't, So I just changed the letter just now, so we'll have to. Or the numbering, but that one under C for the web page, I think the reason why we do that, because there are specific requirements in the other places, and you see it's multi-reference. Because if it's only a policy on the web page, then it will go to that policy versus having to read the whole thing every time, so that would be specific to it. Because if not, this one would be like 20 pages long, because you'd have to go to the reference on students and put that all in there. The reference on 7320, which is probably finance something or other, and put that on maybe it's infrastructure.
These guys can find it.
Take it listed, maybe. I understand, but I think that's the reason why they do that, so if it's only on that, but it does impact a bunch of other policies. I can see if this being committee come to our next session like this too, and we can ask all those questions at once, or at least virtually. That way, if there anything like that, we can condense it. But the problem with that is when the state sends an update, they do all of the legal work for those updates. If we do or don't have, if we have it in a different policy, than what the update's for, we may miss something. So if it's only on your website, it's, it could get missed if our policy isn't referenced. And I think that's what's gotten us in trouble before with all the internet policies, why they're so far behind. But I see the point, Diane, I mean, it'd be nice if we could simplify things.
Some of the things where you can like that. I mean, it's not specific enough. It's a very general kind of wording. So we're down to the AI stuff. You know, I have a personal thing here about. I want us to be able to, I want our students to be able to use AI, but I want them also to have the skill to be able to look at, and then Meta did something for me the other day, and I just laughed out loud, because all it was a repeat of my words. So I want them to have the skill and the critical thinking, and when you do all those things like that's coming out about brain shrinking and all that, because we're not using them. If we don't give them the skill first before they start using it, how are they going to develop their skills?
So I think you'll like this, because I think this is general enough that leaves it open from a policy standpoint, that it says that superintendent or designee shall develop and maintain guidelines for acceptable use. We've had our media specialists and Amy to actually work with, DPI has a 32-page, we're not going to, this isn't be that long, recommendation on AI, which is ever changing. So that's why, I think the acceptable and responsible use, we will happily bring that to you, and we can do that as soon as, I mean, I actually have a Google Doc with their recommendations. And like, I do not think under any circumstance, our litters need to be using AI. They need to learn how to write first. Right, they need it, you know, but if a 5th grader is at home and it needs a tutor to teach them how to do step-by-step on a math problem, most of those are AI programs. I want them to be able to use it so that they're not relying on wrong information, but that has to be grade level appropriate. Most of those sites though are blocked from our filters. So we don't have the access to them unless it's teacher purposeful driven on our site. So for example, there are some AI things that I would love to use that, and I can't even think of one right now. Jamie, can you think of one?
Well, a lot of it is blocked, so I haven't used it.
I think I would try to propose it, you know, on ChatGPT,
Oh, you can't.
and you can't do it.
Yeah, so, and I think, and that's, some of them can though, so at high school, you know, they can utilize some of that, but they're utilizing it purposefully. Okay, so let's look at good prompt writing. Mr. Beckworth is fantastic at this.
But I also know of students who've gotten in trouble and their efforts have been rejected because they said it was AI generated too. I have known seniors who got flunked because they generated their essay with AI. So where's the line about, okay, we're gonna use it or we're not gonna use it? And I had an employee today, we weren't talking about school, about something else, and he said, I'm just gonna go on and do ChatGPT. And I'm going, okay, maybe that's an appropriate use, but he said it just sounds better, and I'm going, Holly, we didn't do a job. To teach them how to write correctly. So there needs to be that, I know what it's supposed to look like, but I'm gonna make it look better using AI.
Schools have always been able to go home and find someone to write their essays, because the health side, they would pay me $100 to write essays for them. I've been student copying. In colleges, when I was teaching, you had to turn them into, and go through the computer to make sure you weren't, you were right or not right.
So
how
how
we
we
find
find
that
balance is what I'm
A
asking.
more general kind of thing that I've got down here from my questions is, I know we had a system-wide meeting that first day of work where we had that excellent speaker on AI and gave him a lot of information. But it seems to me that we need to have workshops set up for all three school levels, because their use in first through third grade is going to be far different than 9 through 12. And so I recommend that is being done. And I also recommend that, and I think I've already said something to the effect that you're looking for guidelines that are already out there that you can modify or adapt for us rather than starting from scratch.
So we already have, like I said, we have, something, I don't have it right in front of me now, but you know, something to go through from a general policy, and that would be a subset or a regulation to a policy on AI. So we have that, but, just to give you an idea, last Friday, no, it would have been, the high school's meetings. I will. So for example, last week we had, Friday was a professional development day. On the professional development day, I think it was Mr. Beckworth who actually led a session for teachers on AI, artificial intelligence, to teach them essentially, how to use it in their, classrooms. Not so much for student use. Right now, our teachers are able to use it. So for example, I think, you remember, this past summer, we had Mountain View Elementary School. I had sent teams, about 15 people, to PD leading up to Bill Daggett coming. He actually spent time with 55 people after he talked and took a deep dive into it. Mainly high school, and middle school, very heavy, and then some from each of the elementary schools, because we've got to keep abreast of what, what those uses are. But we sent a team before then, and that team actually put into, I think it was Claude AI, their standards for the Carolina standards, and created that booklet that they gave out at the last day or so of school. And were many field trips that they could take with their families over the summer. It had writing prompts. It had references to, like there was a visit to Ashe County Cheese, for example. There was a visit to the Ashe County Museum of, history. There was one to, I think it was Mount Jefferson State Park. There were several different sites. And that was all created with AI, with the teachers working together to put those heavy prompts into the system. So I want teachers to be able to use things like that, it'll make it easier, much more efficient. You can say, hey, what kind of materials am I going to need for this activity? And it'll spit out a list of materials versus a teacher getting the, oh gosh, okay, I forgot that, whatever it is. So we want them to be able to use that.
I agree. I think what my problem is AI is such a broad term.
Well, this is a broad policy.
This is a very broad.
You've got to wait till we
Right.
get to the specific AI policy, if you're gonna discuss restrictions and
Yeah,
types and that.
and I think that's where I'm having the problem. It's such a broad term that what does that really look like? And you've got to be very careful. Well, you want your policy broad enough to take care of what might happen tomorrow or not. You have to come back and redo them. Or, but at the same time, you want it restrictive enough, and we're not going so far out left field out here that we're losing the curriculum.
Well, this portion of the policy is about the fact that we as a board are encouraging training in this area.
I understand that.
So I
I
think
just,
we can-
we're having a discussion more generally about AI right now. So that's
It
where.
says, this
I'm not-
policy says the technology director doesn't train. And the student, and this, then eventually the student
I
has to
think-
acknowledge that he or she has received the training and understood it.
I think even as important as the policies are, it's the procedures that come with it to help us understand the policies and to apply them. Is that? The procedures that come with them are just as important as to Dr. Fox and staff.
Yeah, that one policy, but it's got listed three of them, 3225, 4312, and 7320. There's also a procedure underneath that on our website.
And that's current based on old policy,
Right.
so we'll have to go through and update procedures based on the policies.
But this is going through 3220 is not the place for those discussions, because that's gonna get us too confused and slow us down a lot. We've got a lot to cover. So,
Agreed. Amy has read this, hasn't she?
Oh, yeah, and she's given me that. So it's.
I mean, I can
make all the AI in one general area. Well, the problem is that
To where
this
it's not
one is
different
specific,
pages.
this one's specific to technology and education. There's AI references under students, there's AI references under procurement, it's not, the policy would end up being very, very long, and I would recommend to keep it structured like the School Boards Association has. Because when we had it in the 10,000, and we got a 12-year-old policy on technology that really needs updated. And we might have been able to update it sooner had we gotten notice of it under the structure that we're providing now. And I just think this will help it.
and if you scroll down into 3220 on assembly, Amy has put her comments and highlighted what she wants us to pay attention to in terms of her recommendations. There's 4 different spots. And the first one was to get rid of C,
And I
the whole
can
section. So.
Is it not?
But I think less wording is better.
but Amy-
So that whole big paragraph should go from that down to that. Are we moving on from this? Or are you still want to help us?
I think basically E Amy has approved E. And I would like it to be less wordy, but the state board has recommended this, the lawyer has approved this, lawyers have. So unless they say it's optional or that we can amend it,
But the lawyers approved it, and I mean, I think we ought to stick with it, go.
that's my opinion. F, I think, is just repeating the training needed for staff, whereas the other one was regarding students.
I just changed it down, yet E at the bottom, it's on, that used to be F or G or something, I think it's F,
It was F before, yeah.
yeah,
So it's F or G?
It's E.
it'll be E now, because I've been trying to keep up with it as you guys delete stuff.
Yeah, so you can't get on the.
No, I'm on it, I'm in it, but
I'm signed in, you can't see the edits.
I'm just going off this.
Yeah.
Cause I'm not seeing it as you go.
That's how they, and that's what she changed it.
Okay, the school improvement plan, do we need to still have that? These. In the school improvement plan? You know. How else are we gonna know what we need to find in school?
Okay. Which one?
It's under the
Like
last
the last
section.
paragraph.
The last section,
Uh-huh.
just before legal
School
references.
improvement teams should identify any staff development appropriations for technology-related professional development in the school improvement plan.
And it's,
That's if necessary. That doesn't mean the school needs that.
well, you know, it said we could delete that whole thing.
Yeah, that, we were told we could delete that.
So that's why I was questioning, do we need that or not? And their school improvement plans,
I mean, they don't have to have it in their school improvement. plans. And we can delete that if that's not, we do. I don't think you want to mandate it if they have it in their school improvement plans. I think that should be left up to the teachers. As far as what their professional development needs are, or and the administrators, I mean, I think that's what we need to do. I wouldn't, if this one says they should identify any staff development appropriations for technology related, I just don't think that's necessary, if that makes sense. I don't think it's necessary, because that's what we're doing, and it's specific to whatever the needs are, is gonna be the PDE. Some of it will be.
no, I think it's asking for the appropriations, and I'm wondering if some school systems, if it's not in your school improvement plan, you're not gonna get it done. It's why that's in there to start with, but I don't see that we need it.
I didn't either.
But I wonder why it's in there, because it, you know, are some school improvement plans that.
And the superintendent and technology director should assist schools in coordinating staff development needs as provided in policy. Does that? That comes right after that sentence regarding school improvement plans.
Is that all I do?
I believe that's our. It's not required or necessary, and. Less wordy.
That's fine with me.
Less wordy is better.
That's what you can-
And I get it. There's no way that our policies can include every scenario that might come up. No, so it's got to be general enough to cover the subject. And it could, was it Mr. Margie saying about long enough to cover the subject and short enough to.
Been a while.
John Mark.
Mhm.
I say we get rid of that paragraph.
Think you said it, and I was like, yes.
Okay.
Don't give it too much, she bad.
Cut it out. Plus, we have to worry about there. I mean, a school improvement plans, and you'll get those, coming up, I think, the December meeting. The schools will bring the school improvement plans, and the teachers work on those for a long time. In fact, they've been working on them for a couple months now.
So are we going to 3226? Next,
So 3226 will be next, /4205 permitted. And this is the policy that's actually not new. So this policy is formerly 10226. Or it is 10226. And that particular policy was last updated on June 28th of 2013 on internet safety. A lot has changed since then.
the first thing I noticed is that section B doesn't have to be here. You don't have to have that list at all, because you just need to link them to the law itself where they can see that list is already printed. If I'm remembering correctly.
I think that's just a definition thing that does not belong in policy.
No.
But one thing that bothered me about that whole thing under 5, the term minor means any individual who's not attaining the age of 17. Well, that leaves a whole bunch of students still in school that would not have these protections under this policy.
We provide blanket protections to everybody who's on our internet source.
So do we need that under the age of 18? Because, you know, most kids are not 18 when they're in senior in high school.
But these are the legal definitions used in the law, where's the?
17 legal law.
Yeah.
Exactly, and I'm not saying we need those definitions, I'm saying, does our policy cover all students who are in school, not just the minor?
So as far as how we provide safety measures, yes.
Okay.
So it doesn't, we don't have a, when your 18th birthday, something that puts on the, you know what I mean? 'Cause that's what it would literally take. And so, this would be, all of our kids would be protected under whatever we do to protect.
And
Minors.
some of our exceptional children can go to the
That's what
21,
I was just thinking.
so,
But
But that doesn't mean the law states that they will prosecute beyond, if they're 18. You know what I mean? That might change differently, but from what we provide, if we
You're
provide,
saying that
our
it's-
internet filter is the same.
Yeah.
so why can we get rid of section B?
we can get, well, I would say get rid of it. Or add, if you look at footnote 2, it says the board can simply state key terms are as defined in the Children's Internet Protection Act. And either have that at the end of section A or section B would just say that. And give a link to it so that they could easily find it.
So I think,
On the electronic.
so delete B and then put the definitions, just the link to it, because if that law changes or updates, then we don't have to. update it.
Right.
And do we have to have that statement that we are not necessarily responsible for links? And you know, that's in one of these things where we have a disclaimer that we have to put on. Some of these are you know, like the web pages, that's the disclaimer if you have a link. That was in one of the other policies we did that.
It was common on this.
The links can change. You know, that we're not responsible for
Did it
anything.
have like a statute number or anything? Well, it said in the Children's Protection Act of 47 USC.
Yeah.
254, you don't really have to have an active link.
You could just put key terms are as defined in the Children's Internet Protection Act, and then after that 47 USC 254 and make that a link.
All right,
And have that at the end of paragraph A or section A.
so what I did is I highlighted B to remind me to go back and make sure that it's worded correctly. But I copied that thing that you said at the very end and put it there to remind me, it just takes that out. Okay, so this will be,
And D, do we need that either? Is that not included in some of the other stuff we said? See, we got 3 policies there.
yeah, but this isn't, so I think it does need referenced here, because it does reference that we have that. It's,
Policy references for technology acceptable use.
so the technology acceptable use gets signed by parents, that's sent home at the very beginning of the year.
What happens if they can't get on the internet if they don't sign that?
Will we hunt them down until they sign it?
Because anymore, you got to
Yeah,
have all that to have
you
a
do.
class and to test, to do all the things the state wants you to do. You got to have that permission. Under procedures for disabling or otherwise modifying the blah, blah, blah. In what circumstance would we disable the technology protection measure?
Under C,
No, I'm talking. Where are you at? No, I went down to E.
okay, sorry.
Um,
Next time, I said, have you skip down there, so make sure.
Well, there was something in C that I wanted to note. I noticed that audio is not required by law, that it be blocked if it's pornographic.
That bothered me.
Yeah, and I think it should be, and their statement does say in here that the board has determined that audio or visual materials that depict violence, nudity, or graphic language that does not serve a legitimate pedagogical purpose are inappropriate for minors. I think we ought to leave that in there. The wording is one I like. I think it covers most anything we need to be concerned about, but the law does require us to specify as a board, according to the footnote.
So, as far as, I think that absolutely needs to be left in there. And, you know, so for example, when we're talking about materials that may be appropriate, be like for saying the Holocaust, there are pictures out there of, you know, that, you know, are appropriate at certain grade levels for kids to see.
Yes.
And we certainly wouldn't want to take that away from kids, but they don't need to be, you know, within the general form. So that is law.
And I had a question for us to think about regarding toward the bottom of the page, school system personnel may not restrict internet access to ideas, perspectives, or viewpoints if the restriction is motivated solely by disapproval of the viewpoints involved. Are we going to be specifying anything connected to terrorism approval, violence approval, or is that adequately named? I don't remember. Yes, it depicts violence. It's listed
Violence and all that is already
there.
depicted.
Yeah.
We don't remember the guidelines.
But that would be under the guidelines.
So we're good with that. I don't have any other problems with that.
We certainly don't want. I get different,
Okay. Stop my doors. I'm thinking about the parent thing here.
which one?
Access to inappropriate material where it says the superintendent in conjunction with school technology and then blah, 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 blah. To make a determination regarding what other matter or materials are inappropriate for minors.
That would be in school discipline, and that leaves it open so that if there's something that's inappropriate and it's not listed here, then it's.
And so parent rights there. I'm thinking of one specific lady who we have a lot of trouble with.
I'm sitting here thinking that if it's on our device, then we should be able to say no.
I think so.
You know, if it's on their home device and they will, but there's certain things that we cannot have on our devices. So,
Absolutely.
They got home videos.
well, there's certain things that they cannot download to our devices, which is, right, if it's somebody else's devices at home, you know, I wish people would make better choices, but that's it. I don't know. It's like whatever.
It's filtered 15 years ago when I see it, so.
Well, a lot of it is, but you cannot, no filter is perfect, it will not catch everything. It just won't.
Sometimes when you catch things you don't want to.
And sometimes it'll catch things you don't
Like
like.
if you want a recipe for chicken breasts.
Exactly, you're exactly right, that is a perfect example.
I dealt with that for quite a number of years. On the page 3, the bottom, the first footnote, it talks about us having to be sure that the policy meets the requirements of the law and that we have E-rate applicants must retain internet safety documentation, including the policy and adoption records. Where are we on that timeline? Because it says you have to keep it for 10 years.
So I don't think we've thrown anything away in a long time. So we actually have a document that Amy maintains that has how long we keep certain things. And if you want to go back in this room and in this room and in the 2 offices next to my room, and yet like we're eventually going to have to come up with an electronic way to keep a lot of it's expensive, but we're running out of space here with the stuff that we keep.
So did we just reapply the E-rate? So that would be up to date? I mean, that
Yeah,
was.
we are actually getting ready another cycle, so, yeah.
So we
I appreciate all the hard work the staff does with this kind of paperwork that is just humongous amount of extra load on people. But, anyway. I'm fine with that as we altered it. I don't know about anybody else.
So the next one.
I did have a question. Under 7, is MySpace still around? It's got on their Facebook and MySpace.
Yeah, it needs to be,
That's a little dated.
yeah,
Yeah.
Snapchat is.
So we can put, well, I mean, we can delete MySpace and put Facebook. There might be a new one coming out. I don't know. Anyway, Facebook, we can say, I don't usually use Facebook either, that's old people like me. But social media, such as Facebook and Instagram.
Instagram.
Are not
Well, you have-
directly
yeah.
considered harmful to minors by the FCC and need not be blocked. We do block social media for student use. They're not blocked for adult use. I mean, I posted yesterday in the middle of the day, something on our website, but there are only a handful of us that actually have those capabilities. So you don't want to block it for adults who need to communicate, but for kids, and this is. So,
This is meant for kids?
the internet safety, this is in general, it is in general.
Okay.
Can we say that social media sites will not be allowed during the school day?
Not in general. I mean, we would never be able to keep up with our
For students.
website and media.
For students?
Do you have to
We
specify
could.
Facebook or Instagram on there? Can you just leave it social media?
Social
I would just leave it social
Period.
media.
Yeah, because it's gonna change everything.
MySpace is old.
Exactly.
There've been some really interesting stuff on Snapchat, since school started. Mhm.
They say that.
Well, I think that, there are some social media websites that are considered harmful to minors. That's why, so something like Facebook would not be, I don't know, we need to, but there are some that are harmful to minors considered by the FCC. I can find a list. I don't even know if, we block it anyway.
Okay.
I mean, we block it for minors. We do not have, students who have access to our filters, to social
I mean,
media.
really,
Now, they can do it on their phone,
social media website.
Right, but, is it on their social media?
No, I'm just saying if you got rid of them, saying Facebook and Instagram, like you're pulling them two out.
in the reference
The
of
social media websites are not
but some of them are.
categorically considered harmful to minors by the FCC and need not be blocked.
Yeah, but some of them are. Some are considered harmful.
But
Right.
why is that statement even in there?
So that was
Um,
for,
Footnote.
Yeah, but that, I mean, but why are we, I don't think we should allow that during the school day period. And with the use of the pouches, we are saying we're not allowed that.
well, the colleges are only high school.
Visual-
Yeah,
Same Jonathan on.
we've got some at the middle school that need to address.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, so, and other, I heard of third graders, so,
Oh, yeah, we are fifth and sixth grade and every elementary school that I've seen kids that are.
It's just-
I think we should not allow it at school, period.
No.
Why do we need
Words aren't
social
in the
media
policy,
at
and the
school?
footnotes will be deleted.
But
so-
because this is this is,
Sorry, I'm.
it is responsible.
Well, it's easy to do on this. Are we ready to go to 30-27?
Wait just a minute, let's see what we're gonna do about the social media website.
So
Which it's a footnote.
It's a
I mean,
footnote, those will be
But it's-
deleted.
it's in
mentioned
under
that-
E.
It's
Under E?
mentioned up here though, or it would be a footnote.
So,
The little second was on that.
Yeah,
It was under.
so from a student standpoint, I think you're 100% correct. And most of this is.
I don't know which way.
Oh, there you,
Where,
under C. And these are
Yeah.
depictions, things I've seen that were to be child pornography or harmful to minors, I mean, that's their seven.
So under E is where they reference the social media, and I mean, we absolutely block it for kids. I mean, there's nothing that they can access on our network that I know of.
But it's part of the policy that we are going to block. I mean, they will not have access.
Okay, it's provided.
Here's the thing, it's getting, since we got the pouches at the high school, the middle school kids are using phones sometimes.
No, well, they should not be using.
They should,
those.
but they-
Correct, and
Well,
they're
they are.
supposed to be away, but unfortunately, we have kids that sneak stuff, and we have somebody yesterday. You know,
Yeah, so I mean, can we just not allow social media for students?
so they can't, okay,
Control their.
we can't, we cannot, if they're on there, so for example, if you go to. Like, if I'm not on the network, I don't think I am, because I was trying to use a hotspot earlier because it wouldn't let me go to.
Looks like some of their state phones, if they have a school phone. I can't get a hotspot.
Okay, so my state phone
Yeah.
cannot get a
I
hotspot,
can't get a hotspot on a state phone.
and of course, you can't put TikTok on this phone, okay, because it's a state phone. My personal phone, I do have a hotspot, but I need it often. I mean, there are places that you go that you can't get on the internet, you have to, like, you just have to do it. Right, well, exactly, and so.
I call you on my home phone.
Right, well, exactly, so, you know, from an adult standpoint, most of the time, you know. You can't from a student device access social media. So you can't get on Instagram, you
So
can't
we
get
don't
on,
need to say it.
you, like, to me, you cannot get on, it. We can do that. What I'll do, and I'll see what I can do. I'm gonna highlight this and put a little. Add a comment. And I'm going to say question, social media, PA for adults.
And one of these policies, guys, addresses, personal use for teachers. And I'm going, okay, how many times do you hook up your phone to answer a call from a parent because you can't? So I can hook up your computer to talk to, my computer won't talk to parents.
But that one's not in this one, right?
No, it's not.
Okay, I was gonna say, when we get to that policy, we can, there's some things like, Remind. That is like that is a communication platform. That certainly they send messages all the time. Now, I don't want a teacher accessing the phone all the time either. But at the same time, there's sometimes when that's the way they communicate with families. So
And
we have to have a professional liberty, you know what I mean? There's a level of professionalism, and then we have to be able to address when they're on the phone every time you walk in the classroom. That's a problem.
Well, I was thinking more after the school day, you know, I don't go hook up my computer to send an email. I pick up my phone, send my email.
Oh, when kids are not there.
With
Gotcha.
it, you know, I'm out at the ball game and some parents sent me 10 messages that I need to talk to you right now. You don't go home and get your computer out and hook it up to respond to that. You use your personal device. So when we get to that point, we're gonna have to look at that very carefully as to what teachers are actually doing after school hours, because they do a lot of work after school hours. And so if I,
Well, we don't provide a phone to every teacher, but
No,
also
no.
I don't want, parents to feel like they can call them at 10 o'clock at night, and you know what I mean, and. You know,
Let's make Camilla explode.
So are we okay with that one for now, to move on to 3227 / 7322?
what was it? Okay.
To, with knowledge and written consent of students' parents, allow students to create a website that's linked to the school. How do we want to handle that? It's on the second part D. Section D.
Well, we do have some CTE technology related classes. But typically that would not be directly linked to our school website. It would typically be a faux website that doesn't necessarily get published. But we do have digital technology classes that have these capabilities in them.
Yeah, I know, but that's why I was asking is, does this match the procedure that we're using? Or is there, does that need some rewording? Because I know that they need to learn how to do that in high school level.
They're not, in fact, a lot of times they're not public, they will put things in their Canvas page, which is not social media, but it is a website. So, and that's.
It's secure, it's secure.
It's secure, so you have to be logged in to be.
Like, it's not just open to anybody, a student has to
Has
log
to
in.
be in that class to be able to access.
Yes.
So this, I'm assuming this wording is acceptable. Unless up to both ways. And one of the things on item 5, it requires links to the law and to the policies in this case. Do we do this regularly with system related websites? Are there those kinds of links there?
So I can check, but I think that policy, the responsible use, we actually have it listed on our website.
Okay.
All system related websites must include a link to this policy. Yeah, it's on our website.
Okay, I was questioning why the schools was listed separately than the district, because shouldn't the rules be the same for schools as districts?
So. Down to.
I'm reading the notes, but it's on up here. It repeats itself. It's got the district stuff and then it's got the school stuff, which to me, if it's district, there shouldn't be a school that would be doing anything different than the district was doing, but,
Which one?
okay, no, see webpage may be posted. Individual school websites, each principal has their editorial. And then they've got all the individual school websites must comply with all the other, is it not the same?
Yeah, so, so for example, we have our district website, right? And then you have a link on the district website to a school website. And that school website, like Travis does the high school, Kelly did the middle school. We've got different people who are assigned to update and keep those going. And that's different over a link to the teachers, but typically the teachers don't have their own pages on their school website.
They used to be required. Everybody had to develop this. What I would like to see is that have a picture of all our teachers on.
Well, right now, I think we're getting pretty close to that. Right now, because we have, we did our website in July. And so they've been updating the pages. It's massive. So it's massive.
Is Crystal still doing that?
She
No.
finally retired last year.
Who's doing it for us?
So we have all kinds of people that are doing it. So they have individual, so like eventually the district will have individual rights, like Earl will have the ability to upload his. Jamie will have the ability to do student services. Right now, Rhonda has largely been
Yes.
updating anything that we've needed. But they've done, there was a whole team of people that helped to get the content moved over from the other website to this one. And then eventually the district people will be trained. Unfortunately, we don't have people under us to give that ability, and certainly that's not something we're willing to relinquish to a student. So, yeah, she's done a great job. And part of it's the new design of this website too, like it gives you templates. But she's fantastic. Let's see here.
On footnote number 7, it seems to imply that it's required that this disclaimer statement be on the official system website, that we can modify it, but that we have to have it. But then when you go to footnote 7, it says the disclaimer statement is optional. So which are we going to do? Which is required or not required? Number 5 link, it's part B under external links, item 5, page 3.
And when you're there,
It's the italicized paragraph toward the bottom of page 5.
On page 5.
Well, it's on page 4, kind of think of it. What I've got here that I printed out earlier and what's here are different.
it's right here.
Which one are you talking about?
It's this right here, it's italicized on page 4. It ended up being page 3 on what I printed out earlier.
Oh, this one says retains
Yeah.
control over what links are placed.
Yeah, that was what I was asking about earlier. And we're linked to that.
Well, and if you're linked, we're not responsible for the content.
Just
of
sitting in the
link,
hallway. I
but,
mean, it's like seriously confidential stuff. Some of
yeah,
it.
it doesn't, and it doesn't.
Some of it's
say
verbiage.
It doesn't, follow the work of the person, we have that on our website. I think we do have it on our website, I don't think we have it every place we have.
And on
So
above,
that's a question.
on above that, under links, under A, it says we can delete, that's it, we can delete that whole paragraph under A.
Yep.
Let's do it.
It's clean.
Which one?
A,
A is under internal links. Each page, it says we can get rid of that one. I'm on for
Each page of a system-related website must include a reference and hyperlink to the school system official website and homepage. I think there's a home button on each page, but I will
There is.
obviously delete.
We don't need it. We don't leave. We don't.
Yeah, sort of, we can make them the easier they are to understand.
I mean, I don't think that'd make us a break us either way.
no.
Good.
Is there anything else under this one?
This is part of what's gonna be deleted in the 10,000s, right? That's it.
This one on internet safety, the 10,000 one will be, that whole thing will be deleted. This will be our policy.
You finished with this one now?
I think.
Well, we managed to finish 3.
We're doing.
But in an hour and a half. In an hour and a half. You know, we need to go a little faster somehow.
Well, these are the new ones.
Yeah, they're the hardest. They really are.
So you're going to 32-28.
So 3228, this particular one, the limitations on use. Excuse me, 3228, that we will not have a bring your own technology addition code.
You're gonna miss it on the top.
Yes.
You'll-
Josh
you'll-
actually.
When you underline it.
It
you
is.
say how-
That's how cheating.
Yeah. Hey, what are we paying those people for?
It was AI.
Let's take away from their pay. They have this failure there.
I didn't know the change.
There you go.
Probably did.
It's fixed. There you go.
Okay, well, let's see, electronic.
Yeah.
material. 3228. I'm gonna get that number right there. Hmm. Okay, so if we don't have a. Is that not where it addresses the personal technology devices? And I have a question about that because teachers just don't always work at school.
Well, but they have laptops that can bring home.
Right, but I mean, like I was saying before. When I don't hook up my school computer always to do stuff I can do on my phone. It's more convenient to use my phone.
Okay, let me ask about phone usage specifically, but I will ask that question. That is a good question.
And I think that it's important to inform staff annually that if they choose to do stuff on their personal accounts, that can be, in litigation, that can be access.
Liability.
So it's
Oh,
really
yeah.
important that you do everything on your school stuff. Keep it,
If you can.
Well,
You can.
we don't issue phones. So if they're making a phone call, if they're texting or something like that, that is anything that is schoolwork is, what's the word? Or, they can request that specific information and be able to access because it was school related. Just like the school board, if you're on your personal device, doing school board business or talking about school board something, that can be accessed by anybody. I mean, that's just.
yeah. And if you look at item C, all employees must be informed annually of the terms of this policy and the methods by which they may attain a copy. They must sign a statement indicating they understand and will comply. Is this done and do we keep the records?
So this is a new policy, but yes, we do every year, sign off on
Yes.
a use policy and vector training.
And it
the
is
Vector training, we
tracked.
electronically sign off on the policies.
I think that-
And Amy comes and talks to all brand new employees and teachers. She hits them pretty hard. Because we've had some, new teachers to, need some help in that. So she does that.
She talks to student teachers and interns too.
Myself.
If you can't do it on your school, device, just don't do it.
Yeah.
There's the- There's the language section.
Well, and in footnote number 1, which is connected to item A, it says the board could strictly prohibit employees from using their personal technology devices and accounts to conduct school business or to store school business related ESI. It's electronically stored information.
Is that practice? That means that, you cannot use your personal device at all? You've done the school board just on the phone.
All done. I mean-
Did you?
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
all
we don't issue you a phone.
right,
Well,
we're not the commissioner.
no. You don't use it, but I mean, even if you don't.
Yeah.
I'm talking about teachers, so we do it, so if we do that, we're saying you can't use your phone for school business. I mean, it's not a good practice, but. You know, if Teresa calls, I'm gonna pick up the phone and I'm gonna talk to her on my phone.
Well,
Doesn't say the board
so,
will.
so I carry 2 phones, but when I'm in Raleigh, this phone probably, it does not work very well. And so I have to use my Verizon phone instead of the Carolina West. So there are times when it's not practical and you gotta be able to get a hold of me. You know what I mean? And not always am I seated at a computer. Now, I have my computer, but I do not have my work email on my personal phone. But I do have, I have it on this phone. But I can sign into a web application for any phone.
I agree. I don't think we should strictly prohibit employees. I think we should strongly discourage them from using as much as possible. But to say they can't is, especially with our poor technology, our poor rural area.
Oh, gosh, yeah, you can't.
Okay, so let me do this, knowing how you all feel about this, and that is really from a practical standpoint. Let me get wording from Christine that reflects strong language around discouraging, but yet, I mean, if you're going to say, you have to, and that's just.
Well, just trying to be smart about it.
But they don't need to use their personal Google account for student information. We provide that for teachers. So, they don't need to be doing that. They do not need to be emailing a student from their personal account or texting them from their personal account. They can go from school.
They know that.
School email.
Right.
What's that?
I said they do know that.
They do do that. They do that, but let me make sure that we're not creating something that's going to prohibit.
Necessity.
This, right,
And let me tell you a whole funny story. We went to the Charlotte Hornet game last night on the bus. They sent a bus for us.
you were one who got to go.
Yeah, I got the ours was, and I mainly wanted to go because Austin works for the Hornets now, my nephew, so. So the bus didn't come, the bus didn't come, where's the bus, Steve Turner's about to have a fit because the bus is not there. His GPS did not work. So it sent him up 16 in this bus holds. Yeah, the tour bus, it holds 80-some people, and he is trying to navigate 16 because the GPS quit working. And he did not, and it said to take 16 was the last thing he saw. Yeah, he was using his phone for GPS. He didn't have service here because,
T-Mobile.
yeah, and so, it was hilarious, and he was so frustrated when he found out this. If I hadn't seen the Lowe's sign, I wouldn't be here now. Because he was driving around West Jefferson trying to find Lowe's hardware, because his GPS did not work.
So let me get some clarification on this, because there are some things that teachers do not need to be using their personal devices to share student information.
I don't.
So, right, exactly. And I know that's not your intention. So let's get some clear language on what that looks like. So if they make a phone call, and anyway, they don't have to do it, between the hours of whatever. All right, I put a little note in there to get some clarifications on phones, personal devices. We'll come back to that when we have to sit on these anyway.
Anybody see anything else on that?
I'm good. With what we discussed.
Report 20.
Mhm.
Pictures, find your seats and balance, say so. Feel them.
Did you see 3420? Now Casey's in here. And this has to do with student promotion.
I don't know if this is relevant. The first thing I put a question about is, it's halfway through point B. It says that the State Board of Education rules and that students not be promoted from 10th grade until the career development plan is revised. Not all students will revise their plans.
Well, the different, I think we could put until that it
Or
is
reevaluated.
reevaluated would be much better.
Yeah.
Because they have to have one in 8th grade, they have to have one in 10th grade, and we're actually considering in some of the teams that we've looked at for our strategic plan, that has to be in it. But for the 12th grade, for that to be a part of every child, that you're actually looking at it again and know what's next.
Well, just in there to encourage him for revision.
And does that have to be with, guidance The guidance post?
Well, it's from essentially an adult. But we do have, students at both grade levels that have it, and it's, right now it's housed in, starts with a C, what's the career thing?
Zello.
Zello, thank you. Used to start with a C.
It's,
So,
it's actually an X. It sounds like a Z.
I
but
know
it's-
what.
Oh, we had Major Clarity. Major Clarity was the one we used to use.
We do make sure that those kids that transfer in have that career development.
It's a requirement, yes, for promotion.
That puts it back on the kid, right?
If they're coming from a North Carolina district, they have to have that. If it's coming in from a different state, then we would work to get them there.
And they're pretty straightforward too. It's essentially aligns the classes that you've had to what's next. It's changeable anytime, and then it looks at their interests and what the possibilities are for next. What I'd like to see are some true goal setting with that. So that students are directing that piece of it with guidance from an adult, and any adult can help. with that.
That's actually in the plan this year
It's in the plan.
for every grade level 6 and up.
I guess my biggest problem with this is the promotion decisions. Is when we get to that last week of the senior. And they need to pass a test to graduate, which is a promotion, right? Sometimes there's been a disconnect there because you're taking a test one day, but you've already sent out your graduation invitations. And we've had several students to do that, and then they didn't make it. We had a couple this year that didn't make it. So is there something here that plan or that progress could be reviewed, where it says down your graduation requirements in January? And I know some of these kids are flying by the seat of their pants. I
Well,
know,
you got 4 new classes that start in January.
yes.
So they've got to make progress and do. Some kids shut off thinking, oh, well, I can coast this last semester. And that's what happens to them. And so there are some kids, not as many, but there are some kids who do shut off and then go, oh gosh, you mean I'm not gonna pass?
I guess.
And it doesn't settle in until
I've known,
it's really down to the wire.
I've known students get notification of scholarships at the end of first semester or January, and then they stop working, and then summertime comes
And
when
then
they're trapped and they don't have their scholarships anymore.
That's right.
I guess what I've heard the kids say, and the parents say, oh, well, nobody told us. And then I've heard the school system say, well, you were warned so many times. Is there a procedure that needs to be here, like?
When we get ready to
Send
do
a letter
waivers for waiver committee, that also includes any of those seniors. They do start, if there is a kid that's that close, it is started looked at mid-semester for making up time, getting their grades brought up, because if it's a course that's required for graduation, those children are set up in ALA to get the tutoring and or making up the time. They're put on into, what is it, for the credit recovery option, if that's what we need. It is monitored very closely. There's 2 folks in the student services department that are monitoring that, and then Dr. Crisco monitors that, and it literally is a weekly monitoring.
Is that gonna be part of the procedures that we have here, or do we?
Well, I think it looks different though at the high schools than it would at the early college. Just, I mean, you can say that it's monitored, but if you get very specific, it is being done,
I
but
was gonna say, what's in this plan is actually being done.
Well, do you need more, I guess, is what
I don't think so, and I also think, and this is, I've talked with a bunch of people about specifically, because some of the teachers that are given feedback toward goals for the strategic plan include the ownership that you're talking about. And I would love to see every child have a portfolio of what they've done. So what, toward their goals. So it can start in kindergarten, we already do K2. I mean, they have their own report, that's more teacher directed, but three and up are really, students can stand and lead and tell you what they do well and what they don't, what skills they're working on, what their reading or math goals are, and articulate it very well. But by the time they get to high school, somehow we think that, oh, well, they still have to be relying on an adult to tell them. And we need to develop that skill all along so they can say, no, this is what I'm really good at. This is what I'm working on. Here's what I have. And put those accomplishments down on paper and really have it so that they can move forward, working toward independence as they go. So anyway, so we are really looking at having portfolios and student-led conversations. So there's no chance that in March, a kid has no idea where they are because they're going to be held accountable for it. So, at least quarterly. The students.
We used to do, we did that.
I mean, they do in K2 anyway.
We did it, I know, in high school, but we ran out of space to store. I mean, and we had to go through and pull certain things out, it became.
Well, I mean, you
I
can
mean,
get digital.
now
files,
it's digital.
You can do an old fashioned notebook, but I wouldn't store it. The kid takes it with them and shows them what they do next. Or, you can pass it on to the next grade level and look at where I am. And Blue Ridge did this for a long time. And so, I think if we get back to that kind of student accountability, and they're talking to their parents about it, less chance that somebody can say, well, nobody told me.
Well, my biggest students have a book for you. And I kept one on, holding along, my students in my grade ago, all their work went into it.
When you have those as options, and I know we've been trying to go to student-led conferences, the problem is we get some of those students whose parents do not participate in those.
But that doesn't mean that I completely agree. Every year, there will be parents who cannot or will not or do not show up. We know that. But there is an adult in every school. I will go to as many as I can. I know Casey would, Jamie would, Susan would. I mean,
We've
we
done
will go
that,
in and
yeah.
stand in for that kid because that's how important it is that they can stand up and say what they do well and what they're working on. And I think if we can get to that type of agency for our students where they are owning what they do, I think we're going to develop great kids who can articulate that from the time they're younger and imagine what they're going to be able to articulate. If they're expected to uphold these high standards from a young age, then it won't be any different when we get to high school. So, maybe pie in the sky, but at the same time, I've seen kids, if a third grader can do it, an eighth grader can do it, and a senior in high school can do it. And then they already have their portfolio when they're applying for scholarships or a job or something
Teachers
else.
organization, which some students lack.
There's a lot of truth to that. But we've got to help them develop it, because that's not an innate skill. And so we've got to give them those opportunities to work all along. But we'll get there.
Okay, under credit, repeating a course for credit, we have, that's on page, well, I don't know what page it is on the computer, but it's, item I, number 2, the footnotes and whatever make it clear that A through I are optional. We determine how we're going to handle credit recovery, and not credit recovery, but credit recording grades when they repeat a course for credit.
Okay.
How is that currently done?
So there is actually policy through the state board, specifically on repeating course for credit. So you can repeat a course for credit if you fail a course. And it does, if you repeat the full course, the grade gets replaced. So that's essentially the procedure. As far as,
One time. Is the
They
thing
can-
done?
well, it can be one time
But it
for
says-
credit, but if it's a course, they can fail a course more than one time.
But it says here, of course, maybe you repeated on the way.
So,
Page on page
See, footnote 27 says the treatment of the student's new grade is not required by school board policy and may be modified. For example, the student could be awarded the higher of the two grades instead of the grade from the most recent attempt, or it could be the average of the two grades. So
Okay, so there are two different things we're talking about here. Credit recovery, it does not mean repeating the course for credit.
well, I was just talking about the repeat the course.
So if you're repeating the full course, it literally replaces the grade currently, that's in there. So if they repeat a course, it is, excuse me, that means that they failed the course. And this is a little bit different with community college, because a D or an F, you don't get credit for, right? So if you repeat the course, you get the new grade on there. It's going away for students to have a pass or fail in an EOC course. Used to, if you did credit recovery, you only repeated parts of the course that you failed during that time, and you take a test and it'll tell you where you're deficient, and then those are the things that you did the activities for. Right now, that's getting ready to change, so I think that's in here. I don't think that's even reflected in here right now. When to retake it, the exam will be administered in 30 days, beginning 25-26 school year, student shall earn a numeric grade. Okay, it is in there. So a student shall earn a numeric grade for credit recovery. So in other words, instead of a pass or fail, you have to get a 96 or a 42 or whatever it is. But it has to be above that 60. So 60 is the passing score, 60 or above. So before, they were just letting kids take a test, and if they got above a certain score, they could pass. Or they were making them take multiple things, but they were only getting up to a D. So, and then now they have the opportunity to actually earn a grade toward that.
Well, if you notice on item 2 under I, it says repeating a course for which credit was earned. The board recognizes high school students may need to repeat a course for which they've earned credit in order to increase their understanding or mastery, or to meet post-secondary goals. They may repeat a course for which they have previously earned credit under the following preconditions. And this whole section is optional for us to decide which ones are going to be in there.
So
According to what the footnote
it
says.
is. So as far as repeating so if you fail, the whole section up there is repeating a previously failed course. In one. Number 2 is repeating for a course in which they probably got a D. And it might have been they got a C in the class. And if you're an A student, you get a C in the class and you want to do better, that's what this is for. We haven't previously, to my knowledge, been doing that for kids who have it's only been a D, but here's where it becomes sticky. If you earn a D and you can take this course over because you need credit for college or whatever, and you now have an A, it could put you above somebody who got a C, a higher grade to begin with, who now is no longer able to repeat the class. So that's where it becomes sticky, and that's where the GPA game,
Right, that's what I'm
it
saying.
becomes, so. Anyway, I hate the fact that we're doing a GPA game, but it
That's what it
exists. And if you have a chance at one grade to repeat it and get higher and it replaces it, you can fail the course first and then get an A the second time, and somebody who got to C the first time around doesn't get the same opportunity. To me, if you're retaking it, you want to retake it, let them retake it. There's no, most kids are going to choose not to do that.
The kids to do that.
Yeah, most kids are not going to choose to do that because they're going to want to, get
The one
through.
who class standing up, we've got a few to do that.
Yeah, and it's usually a stand or less.
And point F here states that if they pass the course the first time and they choose to repeat it, they get the later grade, whether it was
do.
higher or lower.
Correct.
So what I'm asking is how many of these things match our current policy? Because we don't need all of them if they don't match our policy.
I don't mind giving students opportunity if they want to repeat a course. That doesn't bother, it's so few and it's a choice if it's not failing. But if you failed it, we have to give them an opportunity to repeat a course. And if they repeat the course, it has to be given whatever they get, the grade they get, and the other one gets removed. So like I said, you could fail it the first time and get an A the second time, and it bounces you over somebody who made a B the first time around.
Could this impact class size,
Class size,
like social studies who are, some of our high school classes are already pretty large, so.
Item D, look at item D, it says there must be space available after seats have been assigned to students who are taking the course for the first time.
yeah.
Yes.
So they could only do it if there was space.
And I can't tell you a student that's done this in the last several years,
I
like,
was gonna say, it's not very.
the only
often.
students that are redoing failed or are doing credit. We do
Or
credit
they're doing
recovery.
recovery has been-
100 times
they
more.
don't
Just
do
another
it.
item under this,
Yeah.
in the same. column.
This is just not really, unless we've got a child who wants to replace a C or something.
And that's happened before. I know somebody whose child during high school replaced a C. For class standing since I've been here. And, you know, so be it. If you're gonna take the class over again, so be it. So, you know, most kids are not gonna do that. Most kids are gonna, that care that much, are gonna do well first.
So you want us
And
to
they have
leave,
extenuating circumstances.
you want us to leave it in as it's currently stated, because it said we could modify some things or alter the way the grade average is determined at the end. But I'm fine with leaving it, but I just wanted to, because it's
long as-
optional.
As long as we leave it in there that we have to have space for those taking it the first time.
It has conditions.
And it does have that condition, so as long as we leave that in there, I'm okay with someone doing that. I don't think this will be a large problem, and if it is, you know, I guess we could put in there, procedures developed by the superintendent and leave it, and then have us we just have to be consistent year from year. We can't change it
You
mid-year.
can take up to 4 fields in past courses,
Oh, yeah, you absolutely could if you wanted to.
but they can't do it during like summer school
Oh, yeah,
or.
well, not summer school,
During
because
regular
summer
school.
school is usually, they could take it if we offered full summer school like that, but we don't. The community college does have some courses that would replace it. And they take it during the summer, but that's usually in the community college rules, not under our rules. We typically don't offer a full credit during summer school, but we do.
Will that summer course replace something they failed, or would it basically?
They can take summer courses for stuff they had never taken.
That's what I,
Yeah.
okay.
It can, or it could be something they previously failed,
Could
if
be,
it's
okay.
community, if it's a community college.
Right.
Yeah,
But I mean, would it count towards
so all summer courses count for the,
their high school? Okay.
Could we discuss F again? And I hate Terry left, but, of course, my heart's with students with disabilities. I'm concerned about students with disabilities because of the disarray of the, Office of Education right now. Are they still gonna have the same protections under the disability acts that we've had before? I mean,
I don't
I'm
see that
very
changing.
concerned that,
everything under IDEA still stands.
Mhm.
There's nothing as far as policy that has changed. in the law. I'm not worried about that, and I'm really not worried about our teachers taking care of kids who have disabilities. I think we're gonna do everything we can to get people the education they need, regardless of their disability or their ability.
that's definitely true at the high school now,
So since this is a new policy, what I'll do is I will ask the question specific and send it to you all. Exactly what the procedure is. We have one already written down, through Earl's office. He has a procedure tomorrow, so we'll not. So it'll be next, it's fine. So it'll be next week before I can send it to you. But, he's got it on his computer, exactly what we do specifically. So you'll know that most of this would not be a change from our current procedure. But, I do have a question on how we're operating, and I think we've allowed kids in the past to redo a C or a D.
I
I
mean,
don't wanna say it exactly wrong, but I'll send you what our current procedure is. But it's not gonna be more than a handful of kids.
Have you ever had anybody go wrong and study and get better?
We had somebody a couple of years ago, didn't we have somebody
what was it?
through the, whatever program it
And then they
was?
do a college level.
The what?
The yes.
The YES program.
Yes, yes, we did.
Yeah, I think we had somebody through the YES program study abroad a couple of years ago.
But I remember it.
So we've had students who've done that, but it's only if they actually have something, like, we have to sit down and evaluate course and transcripts to see how it matches current standards. And it may be that it just earns a local credit, which we can issue local credit, it's not like a required credit.
Those countries.
I had my son's brother-in-law's children, he's a missionary in Germany. When they moved there, his oldest daughter, because she had already been to school a little bit and it didn't match the German curriculum, she was demoted and is now in the same grade as her sister. Because our alignment of what they were taught was so different from what German students were taught. I just learned that, so. Anyway, I think I'm fine with this the way it is. After the discussions. Just wanted to make sure a lot of this was matching what our procedures currently are.
So the next policy is 3515. And this one is religion in the schools. And that is a policy we do not currently have, but I think we operate very. Do we have to have this one? I don't think this is a part of policy. I think we don't have. Well, but there is religious information, let me see. In one of the policies that we do have to update, but I don't think it's this one.
Right. But this is.
We used to have a card that we kept on our desk while we couldn't hear you. I'm such
Well, if this is addressed on
a.
the I don't know that we need a separate policy for this.
What?
I said, if this is addressed in that other policy, and I did see it in one of the other policies on review. Why do we need a separate policy? Because it's such a controversial thing right now, or? Do we need it?
Maybe for the
We
day.
need religion in school, I'm just gonna say.
What?
We need religion in school, I'm gonna say that.
Some people just.
Of course, but it doesn't affect it, I mean, it just protects those certain ones, don't it?
It doesn't even say anything except the
That will
first
follow the
amendment.
Constitution. I mean, essentially, that's all it says, and I think that's a given.
And we have to anyway, I mean. I
But confirm that we don't have, whether or not we have to have this policy in there. Although I think for teachers to have a guideline of what is and isn't allowed is important.
But it's.
I think the Attorney General back in the 1990s published a brochure that you could pass out. I mean, I received the brochure at my school listing what the Attorney General had listed was appropriate religious inclusion or exclusion from a classroom to provide guidelines.
Well, usually, as far as religion is concerned, it's in the standards or curriculum standards
Yeah.
for social studies classes, exactly what you teach and do not teach. You know, as far as, I mean, I don't even know that you need to explicitly say, maybe you do, school employees are expected to show respect for the beliefs of all students and employees. Well, of course you are. I mean, that's what it says. I mean, do you need a policy to say that? I don't know.
I'm just asking you a question you've got to know, should we have,
We do.
must we have it or not?
Yeah, that's what I-
It says required.
Yeah, and I don't see that it's required. The only thing that, you know, I would want them to be, have to ask the principal before they did any kind of observance thing, and, I remember, we used to role play a lot in social studies for different stuff. So,
Well, that might be taken care of in another policy where you have to get
Curriculum.
under the curriculum, where you get approval from the principal
is.
for any special activities. So,
Well, and specifically, you know, if a parent wants to object to anything based on religious purposes, even if it's in the standards, they can object to it and don't have to do it. And we've always operated on that. So
restated in the parent.
it's restated in the parent bill of rights. I will ask the question, must we have this particular policy, will be the benefit or not?
Let's do this. When all the parents weren't allowed to read a book, so I don't know. I just read my notes.
I guess,
I can still get good research.
I know that, I did not find much, but
Yeah, if they can learn something else.
the mind changes one.
We went to the cemetery.
That's all I've done with the folders that says mind changes.
And one of them, that was treated under this building. Because we didn't know they were going to-
We get an investment.
I'm still doing it.
All right, so this one is Title I program comparability of services. Julie Taylor and Amanda and Susan and myself, and probably Casey as well, sit down every single year and do a comparability report specifically for the federal government. But we're doing this, we have to be meetings of effort. What's that? Working on tomorrow, okay. So we do it every single year. And
Well, it's
so,
due December 1st, isn't it?
yeah,
So,
How long is that report?
a long time.
What things are you looking at here?
So, well, okay, so here's,
Gender, all that kind of stuff.
Make sure that we're not slanting it one way or the other, or racial issues and that kind of thing that we.
correct. Well, and things like, you know, for meetings of effort in Title I, essentially you have to invest more than you did the other. Unless you can show certain parameters is the reason why you didn't. So there's a change in the number of, students in a school, or you have a shift in demographics, or
The federal government said that.
and we have, well, and we have to do it also for, EC services.
Yeah.
So any type of federal funding, we have to do this. So this one's specifically for Title I. And, again, we do it every year.
So is there other places that we have stated that we're doing it a year, or is it just this acres that we're doing a year, or?
So we have to fill out paperwork every year to receive funding, but so we do it.
Or do we do this one?
do you do it for the high school and middle school? Because .7 says you don't have to do comparability testing if there's only one school.
So it's, we use Title I services or Title I specifically for elementary. And that allows us to do school-wide versus only for students who qualify. Because usually we've got, it's gonna be a school-wide. So some students don't necessarily qualify for some of the services for Title I, but they might need it. If you do it school-wide, then, you don't have to, you target it differently.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out in my head why they would have this policy, and that may be because some schools have not complied with the Title I
Probably.
stuff, and so some people complain, or the federal government has got involved. Do we need this here for your protection is my question. We know you guys are gonna do it, but
Okay, I just put another question, do we need this? And I will ask that. If we don't need it, then we'll bring it back. I'll let you guys think about it. I mean, but we literally have to do this every single year, and it's a lot of work.
Does this, well, with this one,
But I don't know if this policy protects us or not, because if you want the money, you have to do it.
and so I don't think
think it
it's
would hurt
protected
to have-
us, you know, then I think.
And if we don't get the money, there's no reason to do it.
But we'll always need the money.
We will always do it.
I mean, I know you're gonna do it, I was thinking.
And it won't hurt him.
And that's what I'm saying, I'm trying to say, you know, have it, you know,
Okay.
anyway.
Some parent says, why are you doing that? Or does these kids that don't deserve it?
All right, so those are all the policies that are new.
Is that right? If you look through the folder that says minor changes, because that I think we could get through today if it's only got 3 files in it.
No,
I was gonna say, can we take a break?
We could take a break and
You
then-
know, get those, please?
and they're showing up though again. So I think they're.
I was gonna say that, the minor changes, the specific 3140. I don't see any issue with any of that. It's just very, very minimal. 3431, same, it just updates some names from, and some things from like will to shall. And then 3440, it shifts an entire paragraph, but then you know, some of it's just semantics, some of these are really.
I had looked at all 3 of those and was fine with the changes. Eliminated that folder, everybody's in agreement. Being done.
It was really very good, like,
very minor.
Everybody can get on those things? No, that was fun.
I have to a lot in a minute. Some of them you've already looked at, but there have been changes since then, so. There are a lot.
We will
Yeah. In those policies with.
No, it wasn't, it was somebody connected with what problem hospital.
We're doing the ones with some more changes.
With the yeah, the big changes,
So.
substantive,
Yeah, that's
and
what-
that word is,
I'm
tongue tied right now.
Yeah, so that's.
Substantive and substantive.
Yes.
You're getting more on there.
Didn't look right. Let's go down.
Are we good, Jamie?
Mhm.
Okay.
We're back on.
I mean, you know, it's very good, but it's nice. Basketball, skateboard, great. That's weird.
Everybody good? I'm gonna crack them on my bed.
So the first policy, here is 3,000. You notice that it's all in red and underlined. It says very large change, but essentially, it does update legal references and, I mean, this was last done in 2002. So a lot has changed since then. But essentially, it looks, a lot of it's just wording changes, and if you want to read down through, I mean, the changes are pretty basic. I mean, develop the capacity to examine and solve problems. You know, they're very generic. Talks about high levels of success and a rigorous curriculum. Talks about remaining in school and earn a high school diploma and then, you know, earn additional college credit. These are things that we're promoting and doing.
But it's basically.
It's the goals of the educational program.
I'm fine with the changes after reading through it again.
Looks like I got a little more words.
Yeah, but some of the other ones
More
are,
detailed.
it is more detailed.
And I think it's more diversity in terms of the kinds of things
Mhm.
such as team building and that kind of thing. Those are
It's updated.
critical today.
So 3,100 is next, and this is curriculum development. And essentially, yeah. You know, we've got some, there are the things that we do. We direct a team, essentially, Casey and Julie and their team do this yearly. And sometimes more often than that, depending on the year and what they're doing, but,
I like the paragraph added in under A, where the last part of that course is addressing the founding principles of our nation. We've lost sight of that. Our kids really need to know that.
That one's part of our family history. Well, that would be covered under there. Why do we want a separate about? I thought that was included in our.
If you look at a lot of social studies textbooks and materials out there, they've gone with the 1618 and the woke culture, and they've eliminated a lot of the key principles in the founding of our country. And so we really need to make sure that our teachers are, in my opinion, emphasizing.
Right, so the curriculum is how we teach this. So it's saying, I understand it as, we are ensuring that the curriculum that we're choosing, the content addresses that, which are in our standards for the curriculum.
And that's why one of the reasons why they have had such a hard time getting the social studies curriculum to use, because
it's still a of our time.
Well, yeah. And so that was a good one. Yeah.
with the recent culture, I think it's important to be in there. Everything else, and I agree with the policy. I think that's.
So accept the changes. 3101 talks about dual enrollment. And of course, we have a lot of dual enrollment opportunities here. In fact, we have about 300 students per semester that take dual enrollment courses, which is unbelievable compared to our, the smaller number of kids that we have. So a lot of students are taking advantage of this. So, it did cross out the junior or senior, and that's specifically because there are opportunities at younger grades in community, including our early college, but even students at the high school who are academically gifted or qualified by other means can take dual classes. In fact, we've created opportunities in some of our CTE areas for students to qualify at a younger age by taking a test. So. And of course, Career College Promise is what we're talking about, CCP. And of course, we work with our community college, and through accountability and CTE to make sure that we have these opportunities, excuse me, opportunities for kids. So this is what we're doing, essentially.
And they're sure we're taking the right course, it's really for the graduation.
Yeah.
It's important.
If it comes aligned every year, and then we make sure that, for example, students are taking some of the classes so they can become completers, not just because it's a community college pathway, but that way they actually get the high school credits in that order.
An interesting observation, I had a high school, actually was an early college graduate who's a freshman this year, saying he wished he had more AP classes because it was harder than his community being, that he thought it had two classes and helped him be more successful in it. I mean, that came out of his mouth, and it's not really that much.
I think balance is fine, and of course, dual credit, they actually get the credit here. But when you're going into an upper level class, it could be a shock for kids, especially if it's been a while since they have to do. So if you're taking it something professional, and then not taking it again until they're in college, it's a different level of balance when you have to take the credit.
Plus he went in as a junior. He said, I've been struggling. I've been struggling. I don't know how we fix that.
Well, and I think it really depends, on the same breath, I had, we've had students in some of the science, part of that depends on the professor who they have.
Oh, yeah.
So, my own child had Amanda Howe, who also teaches at App State, and he's phenomenal for chemistry. He was well prepared for organic chemistry, when he went into college. So, a lot of that depends on who you have. And that was a community college class that he took. So the next one is policy 3102 on online instruction. So again, we don't have a whole lot of online instruction that's going on. We do have students that take online classes, and essentially that we maintain a policy when it comes to online instruction. Most of those are done through NCBPS. We have, it's how some of our OCS students get some of their curriculum that's required. And it's how, kids are able to take French when we only offer Spanish. So there are opportunities there. The last paragraph on remote learning.
We've experienced with Helene and storms.
Yeah, we are. So, we want, to provide as much advance notice as possible. That's why I'd love to call it the night before if that allows, but sometimes you just don't know. So we have online, principals and directors, spent a good while on updating the documents again this year. for remote learning, to make sure that they're both consistent across the board and that our families, for example, we designed schedules this year so families have lunch at the same time. If you have 3 kids at home and you've got some in elementary, middle, and high school, and they're all eating at the same time or at a different time, then it's tough. So we made all lunches this year. Everybody starts at 10, lunch is at noon. And then they can fit their classes in. We had to design it around the community college, the schedules are different based on the student and their needs. So for example, a student who needs their EC services will still get their EC services, but we defined that more clearly. But we gave them the start time and lunch at the same time. So that way, people know their expectations. Planning, similar. So at the very beginning of the day, it starts with that planning time. So that
What about teachers who, it might be dangerous for them to do their remote learning at school?
what do you mean dangerous in school?
Well, to get to school,
So they have to call their principal.
the principal.
Well, they're expected to be, most of us are at work. I mean, most of us come into work, it's not a problem to get there. If somebody doesn't clean their driveway, I can't help with that, but if the roads are, decent, if they're not saying, hey, stay off the roads.
One
Buses
side of the
are
county
different.
is a little different than the others.
Right, well, and on barometer, we've got a staff member that works for Central Services, who's there almost every day. And she lives way out there, so, it's different, I think adults can say that, but, if we have 14 different people that are out there taking pictures and showing that this is for buses. So our barometer for the roads are, can buses safely operate? Most of the time, we're all coming in. So, if they call their principal and they have a circumstance, but for the most part, most people can on a regular basis, sure. And they're going in for other jobs too.
I had one teacher that reached out to me. And they were saying, that's one reason they got into teaching was because, the schedule and the kids and all that. I said, well, the bankers and the nurses all have to still go to work. I mean, teachers are no different than everybody else that one.
And we're as accommodating as we can be.
Exactly.
But for the most part, people work better when they're in a work environment versus a home environment. And so, we have expectations in place that, unless I'm saying everybody stay off the roads.
Right.
But usually.
You're reasonable.
We're reasonable. We're reasonable.
And this is just from my personal information. The remote learning, they sometimes say that this calls or this class is being recorded. Is all classes supposed to be recorded or just certain ones?
So
Cause like the boys, like I can hear theirs. Like some teachers say, well, this one's being recorded, blah, blah, blah. And then the other ones, they never say anything. So I'm wondering, did they all have to be recorded or is it just certain ones?
I'm gonna ask that question to see what we're actually doing. And we're typically not recording students, but there may be a reason to record stuff in advance.
A lot of the time it's the
Online.
littles because
The
they
littles.
don't have, it's a little different for them to navigate. They can't on their own, so.
And I
the
don't know how
teachers
are
are,
but like last year, high school, Grant, like his math teacher.
right,
She would say at the
Yeah.
beginning, like she goes, this is being recorded.
yeah. I think, and last year was a little
But
different.
I was just wondering if it's just certain ones,
Yeah.
I didn't know some of
That's
these
a good question.
maybe broke the rules, some and they had to record it, I don't know.
No, I don't know that we have, let me find out for you.
Yeah.
We did not put anything about recording classes in those documents that I remember. And it's only accessible, it's not accessible to everybody, it's only accessible to campus. So that would be, it would be protected, but
Right. The only ones I can think of are the lower grades, like your K2, if they want to record a Letterland lesson on their own
yeah.
and they put it
upload
on, remind them, then they can watch
But
it whenever.
typically, it's not when kids are.
Right.
There is a setting where you can just record the teacher and not
It's
show
the
the kids.
I don't
It's the
think-
focus, it's a focus setting.
Yes.
And maybe it's just the teacher and not this, you know.
Right.
I mean, I think if the children are talking, but you wouldn't see. So if the kids are responding, you would hear it because it's being,
But the teacher always made sure that she announced that.
Yeah.
It's being recorded.
I could see that would be helpful for multiple children, families who only have access, limited access to a device. Or internet, not, we couldn't do 3 people in some household, the Wi-Fi is not.
She might be doing it for two children.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's a normal class size. I mean, I'm guessing. But I was just wondering, I just seen that.
I'll ask about what's typical. I know we do record things.
Hello.
I know we do record things and have them uploaded into Canvas, and some of them will pre-record, but I'm not sure about the actual Zoom class that they're doing, because that's typical. I mean, we want students to show up for the Zoom class, not just watch the lesson in Canvas.
We can clarify that. I mean, that's a good point to clarify, because there could be people that are confused about that too, so that's good.
So 3110 is the next one, innovation in curriculum and instruction. This is not a whole lot of change other than, consulting with local industries, employers, and, we do this often. In fact, I had Earl at a local business who's expanding recently to help plan for some potential local courses that we could offer in aerospace as a result of that collaboration. So we had met last month with their plant manager, and then he was there, it was this week, planning some of the details from it. So this is something we'll do regularly.
Going back.
I just that, and that's a great change because it's work that we're doing. So then 3115, there are, it's a short policy anyway, but instead of will, things like must, instructional standards are, and these are, these are things that we are already doing.
I don't call it standard course of study.
No, they're calling it instructional standards. And they'll probably change it again before we get this policy approved, but
Well, you put whatever changes you need to on that thing.
I
don't have any problems with 3115. Looks good.
Well, okay. And the next one is 3130. This is grouping for instruction. Now, this one is, interesting because, I'll have to define some of this, but, anyway. Essentially, talking about things that you could consider, and this is really the MTSS process.
Yeah.
In general, students' best opportunity for achievement, the skill level of the student, the most effective instructional comment, these are just numbering some of the things that are already there. And then, assignment to classes, this might be for something like a inclusion class or an AI class, or something that's, more advanced, but these are pretty standard.
Yes.
The next policy is 3135. And again, while this is considered substantive changes, really it's not a. It's really just wording.
There used to be a guide based on age, how much homework should be given.
This one, but anyway, there are a couple grade levels that, where the work may be depending on the teacher, may be a lot. And so,
how do we monitor that? Because I'm of the opinion that homework should be minimal.
I got a complaint from a parent recently that their kindergartner was spending
A lot of time on homework.
Okay, so their kindergartner should be reading at night and I mean,
And that's it.
like, that's it. Like, there shouldn't be a lot of work for a kindergartner. There is not a lot of work for a kindergartner. They need to read. And they might send home a baggie with manipulatives in it to practice counting or something.
But it shouldn't,
It shouldn't be, and it really shouldn't be, so.
It shouldn't.
If you let us know
Yeah.
where that is becoming, like, go outside and play should be the homework.
Yes.
You know,
Read with-
read to your family.
Yeah.
Practice sight words, or whatever it is, phonics, blends.
Right.
That's.
And the homework are they giving this child?
Yeah.
They're giving a lot, there's spelling homework every night, there's math homework every night, there's reading homework every night.
Is that, I'm just curious, just because with children that are in and have homework, some grade levels will say, here's your packet of homework, and you have to the end of the week to get it done. So it's like one thing, you can choose how you want to get it done, or is it reading, math, and something else every night? I guess that's what my wonder would be.
There is a component of reading math, something of spelling every night, but you do have a whole week.
You have the whole
to read
week.
all things, and
Yeah.
so I asked the student the other day, we were going to the fall festival, no, what is, yeah, but in kindergarten, there are those kinds of requirements too, that I went to the fall festival, and I was like, hey, how was your day? Oh, I got my homework done, my day was good. So they're gauging their day on whether or not they get their homework done, because they have to do it when they go home, and sometimes it's, you know, you've got all these things.
There's a
you have
lot,
to
I mean,
do.
as, I get it. I mean, I'm up doing stuff and helping, and I get it.
My grandson's got homework like that. Sentences and kindergarten.
That's part of, that's part of. So let's talk off online where we might be able to support differently.
Mhm.
Yeah, because really, some homework is healthy.
Yes.
It is.
Going home and reading.
Reading.
Being able to work independently. But some kids are not dominant at the end of the day too, and we've got to look at whether it's developmentally appropriate. For that child at that time, and largely kindergarten should be. Going home and reading a book.
Yeah.
Practice reading your.
Right.
And grandma.
I think 3135 covers the things that need to be covered appropriately without specific parameters that would have to be changed maybe in the future, so. I'm fine with the changes that were made.
So 3,200, so selection of textbooks. I think I'll brag on curriculum people for the process that was used and how transparent it was. And that was a huge undertaking for them. And we will go through a similar process for the math curriculum.
Yes. Yes.
That will be updated soon, but anyway, this actually looks at
Do we need to have supplementary materials defined?
so where are you? So I mean,
Number 2.
well, yeah.
I think to a degree, because it could get a little,
So when,
Um,
okay, so for example, a supplementary material could be something that the teacher goes rogue and chooses. And that becomes very questionable, especially if they're using something like teachers pay teachers.
Right.
Anyway, so I do think that there is a need to have supplementary materials that we define. That doesn't mean it has to be everything, but I do think that it protects the teacher, especially from choosing something that would not be appropriate.
I would leave that alone. Because, and that things that have happened in the past.
It also goes weird.
So, I'm sorry that.
Is there something
We are
specific
using
about?
that use the whole statement.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, I'm looking at my situation was different. I had to create my own curriculum. That wasn't one. He's on both ends of the spectrum. When I was in EC, I had to create my own curriculum. We didn't even have a standard course of study. We had to develop our own, so we did. And then when I taught AIG, there was no curriculum. I was to supplement the curriculum and take the curriculum further. Of course, I did that. I developed my own curriculum. So, I mean, I, as a teacher, should I not know what kind of supplementary materials is best for my classroom and their needs? I mean, I don't see how that could be generated as a director or at the district level. If my class is unique and we have these unique people in my class, should I not have that right as a teacher to choose my supplementary materials?
But it's very broad, it doesn't say anything specific.
But
It's
that's
like
what I'm
wide
hearing.
range of
That's what I'm
things.
hearing, specifically say, well, you can't use this, can't use this or this. I don't know.
Well, I think too, something to consider, and as time has changed, there's a big emphasis on research-based, evidence-based practices. And the difference in that, evidence-based practices, evidence-based resources, that kind of thing, versus a worksheet that you found online. You see what I'm saying? I think just making sure we're in that avenue of, is it best practice or not? And sometimes people don't know. I mean, they don't.
It's probably enough to let them
This
do
is
that.
either the Central Curriculum Committee, which that's where a lot of this stuff is developed, especially over the summer, or it says a school through school improvement plan, or maybe it should say through a school improvement team. You would actually look at that, but I don't think we need to have 5 different teachers doing 5 different things like all the time. Because I think that could get really, it's not that they don't have autonomy, because they do in some ways. But I think this protects them to have a process that allows them to, and protects the board. You can people being able to use things that are just.
Well, point 3 under section B, principal shall establish rules concerning what materials may be brought in by teachers without review. Principals are encouraged to involve teachers in establishing these rules. So,
I guess it's just changed a lot. I mean, nobody else was gonna help me do a curriculum.
Yeah.
There was nobody else to do that. So I would never have chosen something that was sketchy or not research based.
And
I mean, I had to develop my own.
And we have teams that work really hard on it over the summer and ensure that our pacing is pretty similar and that we are going in very similar orders. Because we do have students that move from elementary school to elementary school every year. And if we didn't have some consistency, they would have complete gaps in this entire units. Throughout the year if we didn't do that, but also we've got a lot of newer teachers that aren't as experienced, and anyway, it helps when you can have some consistency in those materials, and then you've got a team around you to help plan so that you have the better quality, and you're not spending until midnight every night planning like probably you and I were. Without resources years ago. So we try to as much as we can. There are going to be some classes that are one-offs that don't have the same number of materials as like an ELA class or a math class.
it's a little easier at the elementary.
It is easier in elementary.
Based on what was available at the school.
Right.
But eventually AP came back and you had to develop it and send it to them for
So is there
permission.
there are teachers that are on these committees, and is there a balance? Like, if I want to use this resource that I went to a workshop and we had this resource presented to us that it was not yet being used by the district. Is there a process for that? Because sometimes we learn, that's why I go.
Oh, yeah, sure.
to learn that.
Sure.
But
Usually they do
stuff-
bring it to their principal or their school improvement team first. And typically they'll talk to their team about it. And then if they, you know, want to continue to bring it to surface level and try to ask, they'll go to the school improvement team, they'll go to their principal and ask if it's okay. Does it fit the criteria, blah, 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 you know, kind of thing. And typically it's kind of, you know, made the decision there based upon our plans, math, literacy plans, what we know is research-based, evidence-based practices. If they ever question it, which it did, it came up this summer, the principal calls us and asks us our opinion on it and gets our advice on it. Typically that's what's happening.
If this has satisfied everybody's concerns, it's 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's
been a timekeeper.
We can approve this one and go home.
Is it in here that, I'm looking back at the end, I can't remember, is it in here where that the teacher can have that process in this policy?
It's actually, so when we look at how many school behavior plans. So, or the school improvement plan, they submit a request for the alternative textbook.
Yes.
That's an A for selection of textbooks. For supplementary materials. Is it set already somewhere?
School Media and Technology Advisory Committee is what's in there. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I typed in the word. And
Oh, I see. Under number 2, maybe the committee shall be appointed by the principal, teachers and instructional support personnel representing. So typically it's going to be the principal with advisors from the media and technology, instructional support, whether that's a specialist or someone that's
Where are you?
number 2, process and criteria for selecting.
So what would a school media and technology advisory committee have to do with me using the supplementary material? Because
I think it depends on what the material is.
okay, but that's not the way it's reading.
Yeah, I do agree with you that that's a little wonky for me too, from a standpoint of,
Doing this and these people don't know.
right. I agree with you on that.
Team maybe, but the media, school media. And
I think it has to
I
be
think
like
it would be like
books,
relevant to, like if you're talking about books.
like the library selection.
They're usually a table for books and supplementary, most of the supplementary materials are going to be books. And they're going to be,
Or technology.
technology, websites, things like that. So you would want to make sure that if we're purchasing something else or going to a website, that they're going to be involved to help make sure that they are, you know.
Could we
good
add
hires or
Could we add if
cool.
appropriate there? Because so I can see.
Oh, yeah, if appropriate.
Because it makes it sound, the way it's written, it makes it
How about
sound that
inappropriate?
these people are going to decide for the classroom. teacher.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think even if you put something in there like instructional, a teacher's instructional, you could say,
It's on it, no.
And I think it's gonna be more important as we move forward, because textbooks are switching to web-based. And the hard copy books are just.
could you put something about stakeholders, just relevant,
How about relevance?
relevant
Relevance
stakeholders, or something like that within the curriculum.
Because it already. says
Department?
Teachers and instructional support personnel representing various subject areas and grade levels. Parents, if on, that's who
That covers it.
Mhm. It does have, the part that they're adding are the facilitator for lesson. Are you on to processing criteria?
Yes.
Selecting, so it reads, the committee shall be appointed by the principal and will include teachers and instructional support personnel representing various subject areas and grade levels. Parents, and if on staff in the school, the library media coordinator and technology facilitator. So if they're there, they can be a part of that team that helps to select.
Right, that's true. That's what
I mean, so it's inclusive.
Okay, there needs to be some kind of punctuation after that either. If on, and if on staff, you know, that was, and if on staff.
And if on staff, in the school.
It is.
And if on staff in the school, comma.
Put another comma after if, and if, I'm saying, I don't know, it doesn't look right.
Don't put one for your place.
No, but where are we gonna put it? I mean, that don't look right.
And any,
I think when it's
I
not.
think what they're saying is if you've got a library.
yes,
You can put them on.
You can.
Yes.
put them on there.
Does that help if I do that?
Please be-
And I accepted it. And I think it reads better when it's not in red.
It doesn't take it to another line when it was already, it makes it all one phrase. On staff.
And if on staff in
Why
the
do you
school.
need it on staff?
What if we say, and if in the school, the media.
Why don't you say, yes, and the media?
Well, because it would be a school. So
Yeah.
parents, well, because that means you have to have everybody, so this is essentially if they're available.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this? Let me do this. Guys.
That's definitely not.
I'm going to put this,
Somewhere may include
And they
principal
include.
discretion.
And
Well, they're saying it has to include the media coordinator and the
But
technology.
if on staff, but let me say may include, I put in question and I'll get some clarification. But I think that means if they don't want this one person saying, hey, I'm gonna use this, let's as a team sit down and say,
Yeah.
this is where we
And
use.
if on staff in the school was at the end of this sentence would be a lot better than have it right there in the middle. I think, if we decide to keep that.
Okay. Fair enough.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
There you go.
Move we adjourn.
Okay. We've got a motion for Ms. Ward to adjourn, but I have a second. Second for Teresa Calhoun. Any other questions, comments?
We did.